Okay, everybody, this is Hope Bacons came in. So I did myself a disservice. I went on YouTube and I YouTubed some things. Needless to say, it's gotten me off on a nice big riot. So I'm gonna start. I started watching this video. I went down the rabbit hole of all of the post Bill Nye Ken Ham stuff. I don't know. I haven't done any of it for a while. Ciaran and I haven't been able to get together. He's getting married, and I love him for it. But we haven't been able to get together. So I started watching this video, and you'll see. So I'm gonna play, and I'll put the link down in the description. But I'm gonna cut in quite a bit. I can already tell. I can just tell. I watched like the first 3 minutes of this. I hope it's not like a 3-minute video. It doesn't matter. I watched the first little bit of the video and was like, so we'll try this. It's definitely gonna be interesting, and hopefully I don't have a total conniption. I'm not promising anything, but hopefully I don't have a total conniption. So we'll see. Again, I'll put the link down in the doodah, and we'll see how it goes. Oops, wrong side. It's gonna be interesting, that's for sure.
Hey there. But he's making the news, and he has a video out there that we want to share with you today. This is Bill Nye, and he talks about how creationism is not appropriate for children. And then we will have Ray pontificate on his thoughts with Brad following him up with that. So here's the video. Bill Nye, the science guy.
Denial of evolution is unique to the United States. I mean, we are the world's most advanced technological.
I forgot it gets real quiet here.
Say Japan. But generally, the United States is where most of the innovation still happens. People still move to the United States. And that's largely because of the intellectual capital we have, the general understanding of science. When you have a portion of the population that doesn't believe in that, it holds everybody back, really. Evolution is the fundamental idea in all of life science, in all of biology. It's very much analogous to trying to do geology without believing in tectonic plates. You're just not going to get the right answer. Your whole world is just going to be a mystery instead of an exciting place. As my old professor Carl Sagan said, when you're in love, you want to tell the world. So once in a while, I get people that claim they don't believe in evolution. And my response generally is, why not? Really, why not? Your world just becomes fantastically complicated when you don't believe in evolution. I mean, here are these ancient dinosaur bones or fossils. Here is radioactivity. Here are distant stars that are just like our star, but that are at a different point in their life cycle. The idea of deep time, of this billions of years, explains so much of the world around us. If you try to ignore that, your worldview just becomes crazy. It's just untenable, self-inconsistent. And I say to the grown-ups, if you want to deny evolution and live in your world that's completely inconsistent with everything we observe in the universe, that's fine. But don't make your kids do it, because we need them. We need scientifically literate voters and taxpayers for the future. We need people that can, we need engineers that can build stuff, solve problems. It's just really a hard thing. It's really a hard thing. You know, in another couple centuries, that worldview, I'm sure, it just won't exist. I mean, there's no evidence for it, so.
I know why it went viral. It's all us Christians go and look at the thing. That's what it is. It's just Christians.
Perplexed.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at the video. I'm waiting for the arguments for evolution.
There isn't
theistic
any.
evolution.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Doesn't give any. Darwinian evolution doesn't give any. So where do we go from here? I mean, he's presuming upon the conclusion within his premise. He's giving a speech with the idea that we all should be evolutionists without any claim to that whatsoever.
He's blinded by love.
It's blind faith.
He just so loves it, he's
That's
blind.
how it works.
He asks people why they don't believe in evolution. I don't believe in evolution because I'm a skeptic. I want evidence before I'll become a believer. He's a believer.
Okay. He's a believer. That's where oh my god. Okay. So, let's start there. You aren't a believer because you're dumb. It's not about being a skeptic. It's not about having some sort of like opposition worldviews. Let's be very clear. Starting off the evolution versus creation debate, and I was going to say Christian debate, not crazy debate, although I kind of, never mind. They can't. Because evolution is not a theory of origins. It isn't. Plain and simple. You can use that to go backwards, much in the same way that you would say teach a kid about baseball. You teach them how to throw the ball, and then you can teach them how to hit the ball. I lost where I was going with that. Oh, and then you can move over into softball. You can use one into the next, into the next, into the next. But evolution in and of itself does not say this is how the world began. That's Genesis. So, inherently, I'm getting upset. I need to learn Wusa. Goose Fraba. So, already right here, where they start with their arguments of, he didn't tell us anything. Oh, okay, that's fair. He assumes you know about the subject. Which is usually what people do when you're going to be critiquing them on it. They assume you know about the subject, and then they continue forward with it. So already there. I will disagree with Bill, with Mr. Nye, over how the world becomes fantastically complicated. It doesn't. It becomes way simpler when you don't believe in reality, because everything can fucking poof. You don't need it to make sense. So, he's a skeptic because he doesn't understand anything. I shouldn't say that. Okay, obviously he understands some things. He's talking, so we've got that. He understands the concept of talking. I'm going to assume that because this is a Bible thing that he understands the Bible. Okay, so he understands some things. Evolution, not one of them. At all. So to be skeptical of evolution is kind of like being skeptical of gravity. Like, you can be skeptical all you want, but when you throw a ball straight up in the air, it's coming back down on your head. Let's not talk about the reality of how it may or may not, and trajectories and friction and physics and whatnot. Let's just go with the analogy. Okay, so focused. We will continue forward.
And he believes I don't, because I'm waiting for... every time I get a believer in evolution up on the soapbox, I say, okay, you believe in evolution? Absolutely, it's a scientific fact. Can you give me one scientific fact?
Yes.
Well, fossils. What fossils? Just fossils. And I push for it, and they say, well, I'm not an expert. You have to ask an expert. There's no experts. If you ask him, say, what was in the beginning? He'd say, I don't know. We don't know. Speaking for the whole of humanity. He wants to speak for humanity. They always do this.
Okay, first off, we don't know. Usually when scientists don't know, they're speaking for the scientific community. So let's get that straight. Scientists don't speak for humanity. Scientists speak for, stereotypically, scientists. Okay, so there's that. Cut that right there. And evidence. Let's talk about, since we found the genome, genetic drift. How you can have some people that have certain genes while other people, humans, I'm not even talking about like bacteria or anything crazy. Some humans have certain sets of genes and others do not have those sets of genes. Genetic drift. when things will be drifting together or apart. Okay, so we're going. That's one of the processes of evolution. It is. I don't know why he doesn't bring this up. I assume because he doesn't know about evolution or genetic drift. For example, I'm Polish. I love me some kielbasa and sauerkraut and kapuska. Punchkis too. But who doesn't like punchkis? That's like a Fat Tuesday thing. It's not even like a Polish thing. It doesn't matter. So, being of Eastern European descent, I most likely have genetics that would help me combat the bubonic plague. Because my ancestors survived through it. Now, if I have kids with somebody of Japanese descent, they don't have those genes. It wouldn't make sense. So our children would then show genetic drift as it moves forward. Now, usually this is used in populations that are going to be close together. So usually it would be, you know, I don't know, was Italy hit by the bubonic plague? I need to learn my history before I start talking about it. Just say Italy wasn't. So eventually, as reproduction is gone from, I'm going to try to do this right, so from Poland down to Italy, it will come down and eventually we'll have a mixing of genes. There, genetic drift. We do this with dogs all the time. That's why we have about 400 breeds instead of just dog. So, we have at least one process of the theory. Mind you, theory, something that is not a guess anymore. It's pretty well defined. That at least one part of it can be observed. Let us continue.
So what's the purpose of man's existence? I don't know. What happens after death? I don't know. They don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a silly, unscientific oxymoron. To put the word science and evolution together is an oxymoron. Evolution is not a science, and to say it is just ridiculous. It's a belief. It's a blind faith. It has no substantiation. It can't be backed up by science. You just have to believe. And he believes to a point where he's in love and can't see anything else.
Yeah, you know, and there's a...
What? What? I told myself, I hadn't gotten to this part. I told myself I wasn't going to be like this lunatic, biased, yeah, lunatic. It's not happening. This guy and I, we disagree inherently on the fact that, you know, I agree that the world around me affects me, and he agrees that he affects the world around him. Those are worldviews. That I am affected by the world around me. I affect the world around me. These are opposing worldviews. Evolution and creation. Not. They don't. Until you start going so literal as 14,000 creatures and now they make everything else. So in which case, the process of evolution is agreed upon. Okay. Let us continue.
Yeah, we do believe in evolution. We believe in microevolution, and there's a difference between micro and macroevolution. Because people look in and they say, so you don't believe in evolution at all? It makes no sense. It's observable. We go, well, we believe in observable evolution, microevolution. If we have changes within a species, but it stays the same species, but a change from a species to a different type of species is unscientific. There's no ground for it whatsoever.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things that he mentions...
You can't change into a different kind of species. A species is pretty well defined as a species. So let's be clear on that right now. And there's several different ways. I think that there's like 8 ways between genetics and mechanical and chemical ways to keep species as species. What he's saying is that he believes that you can have adaptation, that you can have microevolution, being that a species itself can change. What he then doesn't believe in is that a species itself... There are spotted pond turtles in Florida, and there are spotted pond turtles in Maine. This is not a debatable fact. They exist in these two places. The only reason they stay a species, a single species, is because there are spotted pond turtles in New Hampshire. I'm just going to say New England. There are about 4 states there. New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, Massachusetts, down through Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland. I'm doing my little map. All the way down through the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. But if you take a spotted pond turtle from Florida and a spotted pond turtle from Maine and you flip-flop them, they will die. For a whole host of reasons that I can't get into without crying with how little this man understands what he's actually talking about. So, in an evolutionary sense, if all of a sudden that population was divided and they no longer had that, say all of a sudden in North Carolina, boom, no more spotted pond turtles. Well, eventually, you would find that and eventually, I'm not talking like in a month. Here's the other thing, is that there's like this miracle of time. I'm talking over generations, and considering how turtles live, I mean, we're easily... 2 generations can be 50 years. So, we're talking hundreds of generations, thousands of years. Now you can have 2 different species. Through those microevolutions that he just said they agree with. So you can't agree with half without... It's like saying I agree with the left half of the apple without agreeing with the right half of the apple. It doesn't work that way. Logically, it doesn't work. When you understand the process, it doesn't work that way. Getting back to it.
I pulled this from Jason Lyle. Boy, that guy is brilliant. I love that guy.
One of us.
Yeah, he's one of us. He says, hey, you want to believe what you want to believe, that's fine, but to make your kids do it, is wrong. We don't do that to your kids. Don't teach your kids these things because we need your kids. To which Jason Lyle said, oh, the irony here is this. In the evolution worldview, kids are just a chemical accident. So why is Nye so concerned about what they are taught? The notion that kids are objectively valuable is only meaningful in the Christian worldview, where God has made people in his image.
In a social...
if we are here by random chance and it's survival of the fittest, then really we should be able to teach our kids whatever we want to teach them, and Christianity will die out. Well, many people have said that Christianity is going to die out. Voltaire, the noted French atheist, said that Christianity will be no more. He said, in 100 years, my single hands will destroy the edifice. It took 12 apostles to rear. So what happened to Voltaire's house? It was turned into a printing press for the Bible.
Right.
Here's a man that went against God.
Same with John Lennon.
John Lennon. What did John Lennon say?
Christianity will shrink and vanish. I'm right. I needn't prove it because I'm right. And he shrunk and vanished.
We should do a documentary on John Lennon.
We certainly should. What Bill Nye wants to do is censor information. Don't tell your kids about creationism. They should be able to look at both sides and make a decision.
Okay. No. That's not at all what... Okay. For anybody that may or may not visit this video, to interpret that as fuck you Christians is insanity at the highest level. It is not saying don't teach your kids to be non-Christian. It is saying do not teach kids that one and the same are the Bible and the way the world works. Yes, okay, so we do have a society that has a good base in Christianity. It also has a great base in Judaism. It has a great base in Islam, not to mention Buddhism. The social contract theory sociologists, see, I'm getting so upset, I can't talk. Sociologists have said that, it makes sense. If I don't want to die, I probably shouldn't go around killing other people. Because then I will be perceived as a threat and people will come kill me. So if we have a handshake bargain, and don't even get me started on handshake bargains, that says I won't kill you, you don't kill me, I won't steal your shit, your food, your women, your children, because I'm TNT. Oi! You don't steal mine or kill me or any of that stuff. We have a good arrangement. It's like groupers and the cleaning wrasses that go inside their mouth. How many more cleaning wrasses do you think are going to go inside a grouper's mouth if it starts eating all of them? I want you to pick off all my parasites and then I want to eat you. No, that's not how it works. So, there, an animal thing. Look how the conversation's evolved. Okay, let me get back to it, because I lost my point. I get so heated in this that I lose my point.
He says, kids are future engineers. We need engineers that can build stuff. Well, he doesn't think so. He thinks stuff builds itself. It comes from nothing, and it just takes millions of years. Just leave it alone. It's, I would love to sit down and talk to Bill, because he's not thinking straight.
I would love to sit down and talk to this guy, because what in the actual fuck? That evolution doesn't say that at all. Actually, that's kind of one of those things that was proven like 4,000 years ago. Most of the time, you know, back to when the Earth was made. But it can't just build itself. But if you really break us all down to our DNA, the blueprints, along with everything else that we're made out of, eventually you get down to atoms that have no purpose other than what we've made them to. It's called entropy. It takes energy to build. It takes energy to create us, this. It does. And without that energy, it degrades back down into its basic forms. That's why you throw socks away after you're done using them, because there's no energy holding it back together. It's the watchmaker thing, but we're not talking about watches in inorganics. I mean, we are talking technically, at a very, very technical level, we are talking about inorganics, but that's like saying thunderstorms don't exist because nobody's made them. Continuing. Now I'm continuing.
And the whole thing is so often based on atheism, and atheism is the most pathetic, stupid philosophy you could ever imagine. Carl Sagan was not an atheist, neither was Einstein. A whole stack of these scientists, let me read, believed in intelligent design. Galileo, Newton, Copernicus, Francis Bacon. Smells good, doesn't it?
I like bacon.
Faraday, Louis Pasteur, and Kepler. Einstein was not an atheist, and yet if you go on atheist sites, they quote Einstein, they quote Faraday, they quote Carl Sagan, who weren't so stupid enough to believe that nothing could create everything, which is a scientific impossibility. And if you're an atheist, I guarantee if you think about it, you'll change your mind and say, I'm not really an atheist, I'm an agnostic. All you're lacking is a little bit of knowledge to realize how silly atheism is.
Okay, first off on that point, atheism is not silly. Actually, everything what would it be? I guess it would be the Judeo-Christian, the Islamic front is fairly atheist, because as atheist, when we break it down, it's without a god. Because then there's polytheist, which would be many gods. There's no argument about that. If I want to bring some totally irrelevant point in to just spit all over the intellectual part of this conversation. My point is, atheism, a not belief in God. Okay, while we can have philosophical differences about that, I personally, I believe in energy and the way the world works, and that it's going to work in a certain way, not because we need it to, or because somebody has said it needs to, but because that's the way. Everybody says, like, well, we have to find another planet like ours to find life. Challenged. I challenge that entire frame of thought, because yes, we would have to find a planet like ours with similar concepts, situations, not concepts, similar situations, in order to find life like ours. But if you have a planet that is devoid of oxygen, you would, and is mostly carried on, I'm trying to think of something that actually has sulfur. And that's really a bad one because it's mostly solid form. Assuming that chemicals act the same across the universe like they do here, which I know will be a point of contention at some point, sulfur would be a bad one. But we'll go with it. If you have a sulfur-based life form instead of a carbon-based, water would oxidize inherently. So you would need a lack of water on a planet like that. In the same way that we have different life, when we went through, say, an ice age, you could have ice age-ish life on a planet that was more distant from the sun and had a more polarized rotation around its sun. So to say that everything has to be designed like this because this is how it's designed is inherently that crap, and that you can't just magically poof, because right there it's back to the magic fucking poof. It had to be made that way. No, it didn't. We have to make cars that way because we are bound by I guess bound by a larger number of natural laws than things like atoms. Because let's face it, when you start getting into particle physics, they don't really give a fuck what we have to say. Okay, back to it.
I think the starting point that you go with that is one of the criticisms we get, because what you bring in is abiogenesis. Somebody wants to debate evolution with you. You start off with the idea, that thought, that concept of, all right, well, let's just start at the beginning here. I say in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So before we can get into all of your evolution, let's start with the very beginning. What happened in the beginning? How did we get here?
I don't know.
And they say what?
I don't know. We don't know.
Well, can something come from nothing?
No.
No, nothing can come from something. That's unscientific.
Right.
And that's what you try to point out in a very clear and understanding way.
Okay, you can't. Because it's not about, first off, yeah, let's start from the beginning. No. Because evolution doesn't say what happened in the beginning. Stop being stupid. Evolution is a process. Like electricity flows. It doesn't say where point A and point B is. I mean, I guess when you break it down and you can start seeing the points, but it doesn't say where the electricity started. We can say that. We, having made the process, can say that. I'm using this as an analogy for people like this. As it's going through the power lines, okay, it's a process. Electricity is being transferred. This is how it works. I'm trying to figure out which one. It's a process. There, we figured it out. Okay, so there is a process here that is happening, and we can follow that process on. We can follow that process backward in a logical sense. The fossil record. Okay, so we can see how there are structural differences. We cannot observe those chemical differences, the genetic differences, and that's fine. We're basing it off of the anatomy, which is okay, because it leads us decently along a path. We can see how that path would function and move. But it doesn't tell us the beginning. It doesn't. Zero. Zero about the beginning. Absolutely nothing. So, if we're going to start arguing about the beginning, you have to leave evolution out of it. Evolution is a process you don't have issues with. You don't. I'm telling you right now. We can talk. I did this with an old boss, and he looked at me and went, "You son of a bitch." Evolution is defined as a change over time. We can see that here in Ohio. You see that almost every day, depending on how the weather wants to act and how your body gets used to it or does not. For those people whose bodies do not get used to it, they move to Florida or Arizona, or more recently, Denver. A bunch of potheads. So, evolution is the process of change over time. So we've already talked about this in a micro evolution. So we agree with that. Evolution happens. Now when we talk about speciation in that now we're going to start having issues. But to say that evolution tells us the beginning, no, sweetheart. You're wrong. Because it doesn't. It is not a theory of origins. Personally, I take it back along the logical path to say, yeah. Now, will I say all life started off as one single cellular organism and branched out from there? I would say multiple single cellular organisms started, and then this one died, and 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 this one died. So I personally, I have a hypothesis. It's not a theory. It's not a hypothesis based on an experiment that I did in my associate's degree that says, okay, so bacteria can interchange genetic material based off of other dead bacteria in their environment. And I don't think I have the paper anymore. I wish maybe I'll look for it. But where I actually did that, whereas environmentally, I took one bacteria and I genetically modified them so that they would glow in the dark. Grew them on a plate. Okay, so I made sure that I had only bacteria that glowed not in the dark, under an ultraviolet light. Put those in. It was was it Escherichia? Was it E. coli or was it marcescens? Either way, I believe it was with E. coli. So I did that and put it in. Okay, cool. Grew it in a tube, culture, and then I let it die. And then I took the M. marcescens, put it in the culture, let it grow again. Okay, cool. Took out of there, spread it out onto a plate. For anybody who's done this in micro, you'll understand how much of a pain it was to go through and do this whole big process. Anyway, so by the end of it, I had the M. marcescens and the E. coli that both glowed under an ultraviolet. They both grew, yes, but they both glowed under an ultraviolet light. So, technically, I would say that all bacteria, because they can share genetic material, they can just pick up genetic material from one to the next, wherever they want, as said by my one experiment that nobody has duplicated because it was an associate's degree experiment, that there could have been 4 points of origin, and they all just built on the same genetic material, so here we are. Not fucking poof. A process. I forgot where I was going because I went off on my experiment that I'm decently proud of. I should probably quote it more to be more proud of it.
How did we get here? Well, there was an explosion. What exploded? There has to be something there in order for it to explode.
Substance.
And explosions don't create order, they create
chaos.
Chaos.
And if it was a big rock that exploded, you're saying life came from non-life. We all of humanity, 1.4 million different kinds of insects, birds, fish, all with male and female reproducing after their own kind, plus the seasons, the fruits, the bananas, all things came out of non-life. And life was produced, which is insane.
Okay. That's like saying all life needs the sun. Which I know that there are at least 3 people that will view this and go, well, duh, Cayman. Of course it needs the sun. If there's no sun, life would stop. And I would say, go on Netflix, go to a movie gallery if they still exist, Family Video, whatever it is, rent the documentary Blue Planet. It talks about an entire ecosystem that doesn't need the sun at all. So, to say all life needs the sun is shit. Our life needs the sun, yes. All life, in a total capacity, shit. You're wrong. you're just wrong. And yes, the Big Bang, it encompasses energy and matter. It would be like an explosion, and as we actually hit on earlier, entropy, which is everything moving from an ordered existence into a chaotic one. Pregnancy in mammals, I really can't say that gestation to blanket it, takes a lot of energy. So to make life takes a lot of energy. My mother's a teacher. We're going to have a moment. My mother's a teacher. So I've seen, and I've helped her, not necessarily grade her test, but like when there's a, match section, I've helped her grade those. Not as much as she would like, but I have helped her grade them. And this is some of the answers that she gets on her test. What is a blood vessel? A little highway for blood. What? Okay, well, as an analogy, you're not wrong. Are you freaking kidding me? A highway for blood. Sure. And, did you find a paw print on that one? Are we playing Blue's Clues again? And this is why we need, real science and not, I wish I had a book to just smack myself in the face with. It'd be a phone book, because Lord knows I do not have a Bible. Okay, I'm back on time. Big Bang totally has nothing to do with evolution, because it's all about theoretical physics. Then don't get me wrong, theoretical physics is fun to think about and everything. I'm not that big into physics to deal with it. I trust people that are. So.
Yeah. Brad Snow, are you still here?
Oh, yes.
Anything to say?
Oh, yes. Well, I felt that like the first sentence of his video destroyed the rest of it altogether. He first starts off by saying that the denial of evolution is unique to America, and the fact that we live in a country that is the most advanced scientific, technological society. I just want to say, you're welcome. Because, I mean, clearly, he's already given credit to a denial of evolution to an advanced technological society. And he also concludes with the idea that, a belief in a creator destroys or prevents people from being able to be scientifically literate and good problem solvers. And that is altogether untrue, and no proof of that at all. In fact, I would suggest anyone to read the book In 6 Days. It's subtitled, Why 50 Scientists Choose to Believe in Creation. I read it several years ago. It is really actually a complex book. It was really hard for me to understand, probably because I believe in a creator that created everything. But I definitely recommend it for you, those that are scientifically minded, because it definitely shows a variety of scientific fields, and all of which have no conflict with the idea that there's a creator who created everything.
And Mr. Nile says that the United States is the only country that denies evolution. He needs to get out a little. Go and visit Iraq or Iran, or go to visit India. And start seeing if they deny evolution over there. They don't embrace it. They're theist countries.
Come out with a video that says it over there as well.
Okay, so that was the end. This has already gone on for 38 minutes. So, after they hawked all of that shit, in the end, they don't understand what they're arguing against. So, and I've just gotta learn to walk. Rule 11. Rule 11. When the job is done, walk away. So, I'm gonna finish the job. Please don't be this dumb. Anybody, please. If you're going to understand what you're arguing, in order, oh my god, I'm drawing a total blank. This is totally disheveling my credibility. Ten Su's, The Art of War. I think it's 10 Su's. It doesn't matter. In order to combat your enemy, you must know your enemy. And I know that they don't have a clue what they're talking about. So that's it from the one, the only came in. And I might do another one of these. We'll see. Later days.